start with the TLDR of what has been happening. For those of you that, hey, Iceman, good to see you here. Actually, you know what? This conversation will be interesting. So I'm bringing you up to stage in case you want to join the conversation because today we have Saurabh with us.
Sure.
I'll give you a minute I'll give you time in just a minute just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So basically, as we always say, this is the time where we're giving ownership of the grants program to the community, and this time is going to be different. Iteration one was focused, or we were taking the grants program through governance, but it was not the right moment. Iteration two, we take it privately in with a review committee. It was really good. Gives us speed, but we lost a little of transparency and community engagement and participation. And now we are coordinating, giving ownership of the grants program to the community with our third iteration of the program. What are the must? 60, who's here in the audience, he shared with us some good pointers, which I think everybody agrees. 60, if you want to come on stage, just let me know. And that's for everybody. We try to keep this very interactive. Just want to share really quick the last points from 60 because I think they really summarize very well what we want. So basically, yeah, when he mentions the goals and objectives, yeah, we gotta come up with good metrics to measure the impact of our grants. We got to come up with transparency. His 60 suggested a couple of things in here, which I think the community in general, they are really liking what we are seeing with Hedgie, with Gitcoin grants, and the way we are trying to structure things, following a little bit of what happened with Arbitrum. But 60 also mentions how to bring transparency in a more tangible fashion, which is following something like what Nación Bankless did. In case you missed it, it's a great report, right? And they did it with so much detail. So it's a great report that shows the stats, impact of whatever efforts they did for their grant. And we really like to start seeing this. You see, they brought numbers about impressions, engagement, and stuff. And we really want to start seeing this as a part of every grant because it makes sense. So it's cool because Hedgie will also help us with the transparency in so many ways. And today we have our guest Saurabh, who participated in the Arbitrum grants madness because it was really a great effort that required a lot of people involved. And Saurabh is with Gitcoin. He was previously with Questbook. So Saurabh, maybe you wanna, it would be good if you can share some insights about your learnings and stuff that you did with the Arbitrum experience.
Sure. Am I audible?
You are.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Nice meeting you all.
Here in case.
Yeah. So for Arbitrum, it started back in April with the first post that I did on the forum, which was a trial post. That post had some flaws or drawbacks, you could say. I reached out to the delegates asking for a response. Until the time the token distribution hadn't happened completely. So everything was pretty new. So this is the first post which I did. After that, I did a new post. I'll share that with you over here. Variety Labs to start a grants program for the DAO. So we thought of teaming up, and then we combined both the proposals. But unfortunately, due to transparency issues and accountability issues, we had to then go separate. Then after a lot of negotiating, talking with the delegates, a lot of changes to the proposals, we finally had the proposal pass through. And this was the first community-led Arbitrum Grants program, and which passed out with full quorum, which was close to 108 million votes, something around that. I don't know the exact number. After the proposal passed, we did a nomination of 2 weeks. Here is the nomination post. So where we had the community participating, So which also like gave good signals to the delegates and to the community that they are open to having a lot of transparency and a lot of members being involved in the community. So that was a great thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue for yeah, that's the post, Jeff. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue the grants program due to my health issues. So I had to move out. But the program has been successful so far. Like there are close to around 36 nominations received in the first week itself. And yeah, so that's it so far. And since then, I've moved to Gitcoin, and I've been helping other participants in the ecosystem to write proposals and all. So recently, GMX passed their stiff proposal. So I co-authored that proposal as well. Yeah, so that's the story so far.
So, and tell me one thing, because with the community, we've been talking about the domain allocator model, right, where you can have experts for
Right,
different themes, and but with Push is an infrastructure project that is in service
right,
of every other project or protocol, and
right,
as I was telling you yesterday, we mostly start with smaller grants focused on
right,
implementation, initial traction, and then we move into other things.
right.
Uh, what's your take now in now that this has been running for some time? What's your opinion on how this worked, or what are things
Mm,
that we could learn from this and we can implement in our model,
sure. So to
if you
start
have
off,
any?
like, yeah, sure, sure. So to start off, this model I won't think would be suitable for push. There are a few reasons. Arbitrum, if you see as a whole, it's like a lot of things involved already. It has DeFi, it has gaming. They have their own L2 coming. Like they want to distribute L2 licenses to other chains, like Optimism does like a super chain model. Then they have the L3 coming, which is Orbit. Then they have a new language model coming, that's Stylus. So they have variety of sorts of things. So something like domain allocators could be an apt thing for Arbitrum to implement. But for something like Push, it would be best to have a committee model of a for a grants program. And since it's not that like integrating Push should not be like it's pretty simple. Like if you see from a developer's perspective, so you can have like a 3-member grants committee being elected from the community where you host elections. So that could be a certain model that could be suitable for Push. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
and it's aligned to
Yeah.
what we have been discussing in these
Yeah.
conversations. That because of the nature of what we do and how we do it, that it might make more sense to have a like a small committee, like what we do have internally right now, but take it
Yeah.
publicly with a link to Push, right? That will.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing that like if you want the community to be involved, one thing that you can do is like, hey, that we have a 3-member committee. I can share an election link, which my friend recently did for what Uniswap got a grant for airdrop from Arbitrum of around $1 million tokens. So where they did a $1.1 million grants program, and which had a 5-member committee, and out of which 2 were already selected by the program manager, which was a working group, and 3 were being elected by the community. So they had given the power to the community, which also like this is a great way to involve the community. Like you can host calls to getting to know more about uh, like who the members are, how they want to contribute to the ecosystem, and also great way to involve delegates and increase
Awesome.
governance participation.
Awesome. Because I feel we're converging to this, that we really like this approach of we are co-designing this program
Yeah.
with the community right now, and we are telling them, okay, after we finalize designing the program, we can run it together.
Mm,
Let's run elections. Let's pick 2, 3, 4 people from the community
mm,
that want to participate, and then we start running the program. Um,
mm,
it's cool that you're here, Setup, because one of the things that we discussed last week with Carlos is that Carlos from Gitcoin is that Gitcoin would be really great for purposes because Gitcoin not only offers us the opportunity to give grants, um, like upfront, but also retroactive grants. So
Yep.
part of the things, and it's good that Iceman is here because one thing that we couldn't really discuss last week is, okay, how can we set up a Gitcoin? How can we set up Gitcoin in general to work the way we want, and hopefully, if we can plug in Hedgie, would be great because it will simplify a lot the operation for us, and it will give us all the transparency that we're looking for. So I don't know if you guys can talk a little bit about that. What we want right now is to inform the community about ways that we can run this, because we are coming to proposal drafting very soon, and we want to come with suggestions, tooling, and stuff. So Iceman, this is if you wanna
Sure.
jump in.
Yeah, thanks for having me up. And just to give you a little bit of feedback, I think the way that you framed it with community member elections, running a small committee, that makes a lot of sense to me. And there could be something where it's like a term election, and you're kind of whether it's via delegation or something else that you get reelected for that role. But if a committee member ends up being a bad actor, there's a way for the DAO to sort of like revoke their committee membership at any time to keep them um, responsible and sort of acting in the best interest of the DAO. I think that gives a lot of gives the DAO still power to make sure that it's running the grants program how it want, but with like a few people that just like mechanically sort of operate it, which I think gives you the speed and efficiency versus sort of like doing kind of more traditional proposal um, routes. So on that path, I think when you're setting up the grants program, to your point, there's sort of two styles, right? There's the retroactive funding, which I think Gitcoin is a great um, story and a great use case for like retroactive funding, where people are coming in who have already performed certain activities and can say that they've completed their like milestones or projects and looking for that retroactive funding. And that's like great because you can kind of vote and put it at a bigger thing. And I think where Hedgie really comes into play is the forward-looking funding of grants. So funding, with people who are looking to sort of get initial funding so that they can start working on whatever project they've committed to, and using our app to bring in transparency as well as align the interests of the recipients with the DAO to make sure that they aren't just sort of taking the tokens and running off with the revocability and cancelability that's built into Hedgie, plus the transparency around our dashboard where the community members can host a link and we can do a dedicated you know um, push grants.hedgie.finance or something like that, where everyone can visit and see collectively all of the grants that have been allocated, where they are in their life cycle, and make notes on sort of next milestones and stuff, so that the entire community can have transparency around it. And to the extent that people realize that there is a bad actor, they can inform the committee members to take action to cancel their grant midstream or midway through the process.
And one of the things that we wanted to find out here, and I think I've been feeling that from our conversations, is how the two things, Gitcoin and Hedgie, have worked together, because Gitcoin will help setting up the like the main part of the infrastructure needed to run the program, but where does it come the Hedgie into the mix?
Yeah, totally. So Hedgie's core use case is really on the actual distribution of tokens to the grant recipients, and then providing administration ability for the committee to ongoing admin those grant distributions to make sure that they can be canceled if they need to be. as well as a transparent dashboard for the entire community that they can just visually see all of the grants, see the activity of when they've been dispersed, when they've been claimed, when they vest. And just before this call, actually, we were on a call with the Gitcoin Allo team discussing, sort of that feature pipeline. And I think that's really a cool potential feature where Allo could be used as like the front end interface where it interacts and integrates with Hedgie as actually the distribution mechanism. So depending on how far along we get in spinning up the grants program, we may start out using, or one option is to start out using the Hedgie platform natively, but then as Allo comes into production, switching to that mechanism for participants to request funding and then using Allo to actually allocate the funding via their like front end protocol to our Hedgie disbursements protocol, and still getting the benefits of the community dashboard, transparency, automation and cancelability.
Cool. Just shared a video that Lindsay shared with us some time ago. If in case you want to see how Hedgie looks, right? It's always good to have that vision. Yeah.
So that's sort of the big picture, where I can see, active integration work that we're doing with Gitcoin and how that can be useful, and participating using the Hedgie platform in the interim while Allo's still being stood up, to disperse grants, responsibly and set up the community dashboard, or the grants community dashboard and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. So now one question for you. One thing that we wanted to understand. So last week we talked about that. Carlos explained us how easy or how fast it can be to set up a round with with Gitcoin. But one thing is saying it. But now that we are co-designing this program, we're just looking for suggestions or comments on, now that you understand a little bit more where we are, if you have some suggestions to make to us on how to set up Gitcoin for our needs.
Right. So you're talking about the operations part, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the operations precisely.
And is it using Hedgie?
It's still in the table for discussion. So right now, what we are saying is Gitcoin is looking like a good tooling to have in place. Hedgie is also looking like that. We're not married to anything right now. We are planning.
Okay. So with direct grants, I'll tell you, like, since your Push is more interested in hosting direct grants, like as we had a conversation yesterday, so how would it look like? So things from the operations perspective, that are the committee, how they do it and how they want it. But from Gitcoin's perspective, like what we offer is, first of all, we offer, like, the tooling is free currently, since we are in the adoption phase for the tool. So that isn't an issue. Second is we also help with the co-marketing. So Gitcoin has a big brand value. We have close to 150K followers on our Twitter. Sorry, 195K. My bad. And then we have our own newsletters. We publish it in our blogs. So there is a lot of marketing involved, which you might not get in other tools. Let's say if you use a Google form, Google won't come and promote for you, but we will do it for you. So yeah, a lot of marketing involved for you guys. And there are also a lot of other grants programs that have been hosted currently. To name a few, there is Demo, Powerpool, Uniswap, and Arbitrum, Space ID. So you developers from across the ecosystem can also, like, come and explore Push. Okay, there are grants from Push as well. Let's just explore this. So these are some advantages for Push if they host their grants on Bitcoin's grant stack.
And A60, let me bring you on stage. And how long does it really take to make an implementation? I know this is a very weird question, but I'm wondering,
Yeah.
Carlos explained us that the heavy lifting is upfront when you want to define the eligibility criteria. right?
Yeah, so it's most probably on like the designing process is on the committee, so it's not on us. So you can like most probably do all the things that you want to do on this tool. So right from like setting up these milestones, what you want the milestones. If you want to have that in multiple milestones, you can have that. Then sharing details about the grants program, Twitter usernames, everything. It's on chain. If you want, you can make it open for the community so the community can see and view these grants whenever they want. So everything is possible. It shouldn't be that the big issue, like the onboarding.
And just my last question before I give it to give the stage to 60. Do you guys provide that assistance to projects setting up their Gitcoin everything?
Yes,
Like,
we help
do
you
you work
with.
with the communities? That's the question. Would you work with Push to make
Ye-
sure that we are setting good eligibility criteria, with good metrics for the evaluators and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So we have helped that for Uniswap and Arbitrum. Uh, so yeah, we will be able to help you with this.
60. You wanted to add something?
Hey guys, I just had a couple of questions for. I hope I pronounce it right. Saurabh.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's correct.
all right. Thank you for coming. First of all, I was just curious. Okay, I have a couple of questions. You said like you don't think the domain allocator model is good for push. Why is that? Because we do like push does get like a variety of proposals. If you've seen like sort of there's an image Jeff posted. Proposals do come from like DeFi projects, wallets, education, social, different, different, yeah, different protocols trying to achieve different things. So just curious, like why in particular you think the domain model is not that great for push? Is it the number of grants or yeah?
So the reason why I said is because push, yeah, I agree. Like it can be used across multiple ecosystems, but you don't need that. So the main goal of for push is to let all the apps integrate that integration, the push notifications. So that's the main goal. So you really don't need like special domain allocators to like, okay, so there is no need to like review like if it's a gaming project, most probably you'll see okay how many users they have and what kind of game they're building, and is push really needed over there. So that's what the main goal is. And for push the main goal is adoption, like how many apps this user brings or how many users this app brings. That's the main goal. So committee model is honestly very perfect for that. And if you have like domain allocators, what sort of things it'll do is it just like you won't be able to get that process that you want like a protocol has. Okay. And second thing is operation wise also it'll be very difficult. Third, it'll only increase the cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Interesting perspective. So, what you're saying basically is the domain allocator model is situational in the sense that, in terms of push, the goal is adoption and not exactly like sort of trying to, get these different types of protocols as part of the ecosystem, but more like getting different protocols to integrate push and the community should like emphasize like should more emphasize like projects that do that rather than focusing on particular areas.
Yep, that's correct. That's correct. So for Arbitrum, like if you see right now, they are a well-established L2 already. Their goal is right now to like be at the top. So they want more projects to come and build. So they start out small, and once they eventually grow, they give out more bigger grants. But they are looking at like various different ecosystems. So if you see, it's very dominant on the DeFi side, but they are also open for having developers building on Nova, then on gaming. So that's their goal.
Well, and another thing to keep in mind is that for us, it's really easy, in quotes, to quantify the return of investment for every grant because we can we can always say, yeah, I mean, this project brought, I don't know, 10,000 new users, right? Receiving notifications.
Yeah.
And we can even measure how
Right.
many notifications we received or how many chats were opened, right? So for
Right.
us, we're in that position where we can measure really, we can really quantify the return of investment. So
All right, and just another question, like, in your opinion, Sarah, what do you think? How do you think we can involve the community more in the grants decision-making process? I saw in your proposal for Questbook, like on the Questbook, using Questbook, like community members can come in and sort of like comment on the different proposals and so forth. So I was just curious, like how Push could, sort of make the process more open to community participation without necessarily, using token voting.
That's a great question. So the first thing, like, what I don't know if it's possible right now on Gitcoin since I just joined. But so for one thing is like, if you see, like, most probably like one of the few ways to involve community is by hosting elections. So what I mean by that is like you can have open nominations, so people can come and nominate themselves. Then you can have community calls to like the nominees to pitch about themselves, why they should be the committee members and what they are. Then you can have like these periods, like after 3 months or after 6 months. If the committee members don't do a great job, you can replace them by new committee members. So this is one way which we are going to do in Arbitrum. Second way is that's correct. You can come and post on the forums. So let's say if you are contributing for Push since 2021, you can come and say that, hey, this integration does make sense, that it'll help us drive adoption. So that is more involved by the community. And one more thing you can look up to is uh, recently, like Disruption Joe did a campaign posting push notifications on how they can make the grants program better. I don't know much about that, but that was a very successful campaign. So yeah, something like that on those lines. So it's a lot of trial and error. You have to try a lot of different things. But what we mentioned in Arbitrum were successful in Compound. So we just mentioned that.
Yeah, and I'll just drop in one last question. Since you spoke about elections, in your opinion, be like a good measurement of performance. So, community members sort of have, baseline to judge on once another election comes around.
Yeah, makes sense. So to answer your question, I would say, like, first of all is like to define some KPIs is like one thing that you could mention is like how would you judge these proposals? Okay, first is that. Second is based on your past experience. Have you ever like reviewed any grants program, or have you ever been part of a grants program as a member or as a grantee? Third thing is like what's your proof of work? If it's a more technical what we say technical role of as a reviewer, then you should definitely ask them to involve like the GitHub. Fourth is like what would you call successful application? Like successful application look like? Fifth is, so these are like, and let's say if you have a certain budget, what are your goals with that budget? Like, let's say over here, every domain I get a budget of around 200,000. So what are your goals and what projects would you be funding to? So these are some things, questions that could be helpful, like what projects you would be interested in funding as a committee member.
Thanks. I took some notes on that, and I'll definitely, put it into consideration with Jeff.
yeah, I've also been taking some notes. So to me, yeah, the question that 60 raised here about how to try to stay away from token voting, it's one thing that I didn't think about until now, and it's probably something that we actually want to do, right? Because if we really want to see the vote of the community, we gotta find methods that that favor this. Um, cool, cool. So I was going to ask the question to Iceman, but he had to leave. So I know that Hedgie have worked with Gitcoin on different projects. Um, I was just wondering if you know of some of them. I know you recently joined Gitcoin, so you might not know.
Yep.
But do you?
Honestly, no.
All right, that's fair enough. I know this is cool. One more question for you, Sarab. If we decide that we want to run a test or something with Gitcoin, um, that's something that is 100% doable, right? Because we can just try to spin around a dummy round and just bring it here in front of the communities, in front of the community, so that they can see what to expect. Am I correct?
Yep. Yep, that's correct.
Anyone else have any more question?
Yeah, just in regards, I think you mentioned this already, Sarah, but I saw Jeff mentioned something around opportunities for like co-marketing, within collaboration with Push or grantees. And I didn't catch. You did mention this earlier, but I didn't catch it very well. So I was just curious, like, sort of what type of, support exactly we could get from like Gitcoin. Will it be like stuff like Twitter, maybe Spaces, yeah. Just curious, like, what sort of co-marketing support we could get.
What all we can offer is Twitter Spaces. Then we can promote you on the blog, and yeah, we'll be retweeting it from two of our channels, Grandstack and Gitcoin. You'll get a case study after completion, and we will include you on the discovery page. And yes, we will review your marketing materials. So all sort of things.
Anyway, Push has a love story with Gitcoin. So many
I know
different
that.
bits. Yeah. Yeah, but that's cool. I also didn't take this into consideration when I started looking into what we would get if we go with Gitcoin. And it's really interesting. I asked the question to Eisman to send us some case studies to see how the two things mix. Ideally, and if somebody have a question, please raise your hand. I'll bring it to stage. Ideally, we will give maybe a couple more weeks for people to share their opinions, comments, whatever they want in the governance forum. But we need to start moving into drafting a proposal that will be sent for voting, right? Based on what I have been seeing in these calls and in the forum, it looks like there is a really good feeling about going with Gitcoin for many different reasons. But there are other things that we need to start discussing about, how many people we will need to run the program, how we're going to run elections, because that's important. Funding, how much funding will be available for the program for the contributors. Those are things that we need to start discussing. But the way things are looking, 2 weeks time would be good, so that we don't let this just stagnate in there. Thought up
So
any last? Oh yeah.
yeah, as next steps, what we can do is Jeff, we can take this chat offline. I can schedule a call with the Gitcoin team. We can walk you and 60 through a demo. And maybe in next governance call, you can then share this demo with the team, with the community. How do you think about this?
That would work wonders. But to be honest, we have been getting a lot of people really, really interested in this topic, and it's a great learning experience for our community if we can do it publicly, right? I would understand if it works better, in a smaller group. But if we can do it publicly here, you see, we can always use the stage.
Sure. I can chat about this and let you know. But we can take this chat offline on
Oh
Telegram.
yeah,
And take
definitely.
it. Does that work?
That works.
Cool.
I think Sarah, your intention was like for a few people to sort of like get the demo and then for us to present it to the community afterwards, right?
We can work on both the ways. That's just like I just gave an idea. Uh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if we can get everyone involved, that's even better.
So yeah, I just gave an idea that what we can do. So but
Yeah.
cool guys.
Plan.
I'll take the leave. I have a hot stop in 4 minutes.
Thank you so much, Sarab. It was
For
really
inviting me.
insightful having you
So
here
much
today.
for having me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a great day, everyone. I'll DM you on Telegram. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, Sarab. Bye bye. If somebody else wants to stay, and we can use the remaining part of this meeting for governance aspects. There is one other really interesting conversation that is a little aligned to this one. In case you haven't checked our forum, and I see Grasp on Crypto here, an OG in the community. There is this discussion, in case you haven't seen it, a framework for delegates. So basically, the TLDR is delegation was a thing that we did years ago. And years ago, we were not ready for governance. That's the reality. And there was not a lot of things to govern, to be honest. So CryptoRow, he's a really interesting member because he's involved into so many other communities, doing governance in so many other communities, and the guy is sharp. And he's the one that started this thread after a few conversations that we had, and basically he's battling what 60 was bringing, token gated voting. I mean, it's a problem, right? Because we all know that there are whales and they can take decisions. But in all honesty, we actually want to start creating more, like, the community is much better than what it was when we started the delegation a couple of years ago. It's much better because it's a more educated community and it's a community more involved because of all the infrastructure and programs that we have in place. But we actually are to the point where we are going to start having more things to govern, right? Right now we are thinking, or what CryptoRow started here is saying, okay, yeah, there are things that we need to govern. There will be things, but right now we need to ensure that the community have voting power. So there are many strategies that I've been trying to understand better how we can implement it with our community. For instance, if you're a grantee, why not your vote could count, with a multiplier, or if you're an ambassador, having multipliers that will help with your voting power, right? Or even stepping away from a token weighted voting and into some other mechanisms. So that's an interesting conversation that is happening right now. You can join this one. It's been mostly CryptoRow and myself for now. But I've been inviting other people from other communities. Like Chui was here. Chui is sharp, and he's also part of Optimism and Arbitrum. And I invited him to also participate on this one. Basically, the TLDR is we want more people with more voting power that can submit proposals, because right now there is even a limit when you want to submit a proposal. But we want more delegates to be able to delegates from the community, not anymore from the team, that can submit proposals and start moving things, ideas that are coming from the community. I'm going to give a minute because I see Grasp on Crypto typing something. Again, if somebody have a question or something, raise your hand. 60, you haven't joined this one. Let me read what Grasp on Crypto said. Communities have tested out Gitcoin quadratic style token voted well. Opportunity to vote with a heavier weight. Wow, man, that's
All right. Before you continue, Jeff, I'll just jump in and one of the biggest problems with delegation on Snapshot, at least, right, is as far as I know, let's say you have 1,000,000 tokens, right? You can only delegate the full voting power. You can only delegate the full voting power to one person. As far as I know, there's no mechanism like let's say you have 1,000,000 tokens. You want to split it between let's say like 5 different delegates. You can't do that.
I don't think
So
Snapshot allows you to do that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as like someone delegating to like delegate, you're kind of stuck. If the delegate doesn't, isn't really involved, doesn't really participate, all your voting power sits idly, and the whole point of delegating is so that you don't have to sort of follow up on governance. So that's one of the pitfalls.
I think we lost 60. Yeah.
Because even if you do have like passionate community members, sometimes they're not willing to put money up front, like just to participate in governance, especially when especially when you're aware of like whales and you're like, okay, my vote is But yeah, Grasp on Crypto, I see, mentioned something about quadratic style token voting. Maybe if you could jump on and tell us more about it. I haven't particularly seen it being used.
I mean, either. But before we jump into that topic 60, there's one thing. I mean, and that you're bringing a good point. Snapshot doesn't allow you to do that. But we went for Snapshot back in the day. Oh, somebody raised their hand. No, we went for Snapshot back in the day because it worked for us, right? But we have to start moving towards becoming an on-chain organization because there will be more. We are getting closer to that point where our decisions as a community, they will have an impact in the protocol operation. We're talking about modifying variables in smart contracts and stuff like that. We are coming to that point. Maybe not soon, but we gotta start getting ready. And there are other platforms like Tally, where one thing that I like about Tally, let me show you, is that right now with Tally, oh gosh, hold on. With Tally, you can always see, for instance, I have the Aave thing here open, but you can always see delegates, right? And it will be easier for you if a delegate, not all delegates will add information about themselves and their values and whatnot, but some will, and it's easier to explore delegates that match your way of thinking, right? So what I'm saying is we are with a Snapshot right now, but it doesn't mean that we need to stay with Snapshot. And that would solve a little bit what you were talking about me being able to delegate my voting power only to one person, sorry. And allows me to play other games, right? On the other hand, Snapshot, they have strategies. And with Snapshot, you can create all sorts of strategies with multipliers and NFT gated voting and things like that, which is really interesting as well. So, but I guess these are the type of requests for comments that we want to start seeing in the forums. If you believe that Snapshot is no longer a good fit for us, then start engaging in the forum about that. And Grasp, I think your question is really taking everybody off guard. I haven't used it, quadratic style token voting. It's interesting. It's interesting because what happens with quadratic voting and funding is super, at least in my opinion, more fair. But I haven't used it at all. Maybe that's one question that we can ask if they come to our call next week. Gitcoin comes to our call, so they can explain it better. Oh yeah, thanks for sharing 60. But I will find out. Now you planted that idea on my mind about quadratic voting. Cool. All right. Anyone else have any other questions that they would like to ask? That you would like to ask? All right. Awesome. Just to wrap up, there is this. I usually open the conversations as discussion with the tag discussion, right? These are in the meta governance because we were talking about, shifting things from being in control of Push and giving it to the community. But you can always jump into governance discussion if you would like to open a request for comment thing, like what 60 is suggesting about, improving our voting strategies. So it's always here. We are coming to the point where we want to give governance a big push. So it's a good moment to start getting involved in our forum, and that's why I've been bringing people from other communities that they have done the things that we want to do to participate and give us advice on how to run things. With Gitcoin, I've been having a separate conversation, and that's why I decided to invite them here. But I really like that they are committed to assisting in setting up things in a way that will hopefully make it more effective for us. So keep that in mind. And that's it for today. 60, you have anything else to add?
No. I'm just gonna look at the quadratic style vote as well. Really curious about that as well. I believe in like equally weighted, sort of like equal weight for governance. With in the crypto ecosystem, like the plutocracy, like whoever has the most tokens, sort of has the biggest vote. And yeah, I think we could all be better served by coming up with like new voting mechanisms. Like I do understand the value of certain groups of people, sort of holding more voting power, but it should never be like a million to one. Especially when there's a lot, when you have like many stakeholders in any given community.
Couldn't agree more. Right, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Get involved in Discord or Discourse, wherever you feel better. But this is a great opportunity. I've been telling a lot of people our DAO is very, very small. It's starting. We are going slow but steady. And with the grants program especially, you're not going to be alone if you are going to get involved in running the program, because it's a program that has been successful for a year, and we cannot let it not be successful this time. So you can be sure that you are going to count with all the support from Push to make this a yet a bigger success. So getting involved right now with Push DAO is super, super awesome. There is the ambassadors, there are the grants program, and there are more working groups that we're going to start spawning. And of course, working on other meta governance things like the delegation that we were discussing. It's extremely important. It's all about creating a healthy DAO right now that it's still in a very small and controlled phase. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.